Video day 28. And today's random number generator was interesting because it was another blank page. It fell after chapter 7, which was discussing journaling in terms of the role of disorder in your life, and chapter 8, which was the beginning of a chapter about the role of wonder in your life. And an interesting note here is I had to flip back to see what the previous page was about. And then I saw what the current page was going to be right after this blank page. And then I would have to flip to see the next one. And I thought, oh, another metaphor. Here we were talking about cognitive scripts and how people get caught in the traps of living in the past, living in the present, and having excuses for doing things a certain way, and then living in the future, and how we need to break those kinds of scripts to really make some kind of growth progress. And so I thought, well, here we are, another metaphor. I landed on a blank page, and I have to turn back to the past material in order to understand what came before. Here I am looking at the blank page, but that I can see the beginning of the next thing, and that is the present. And then I have to turn the page again in order to see what's going to come, and that would be the future. How interesting that there it just popped up in my random number generator reminded me about the blank page. Every day is a blank page and what you do with it. It's mine to decide, as the current journal page that I was writing on was also mine to decide because it was completely blank. And it's the beginning of a day's reflections. Now, I want to quote T.S. Eliot. This is something I start my first journal page of every new journal. I start the same thing because I like the reminder of it. There comes a journey. What we call the beginning is often the end, and to make an end is to make a beginning. The end is where we start from. That's T.S. Eliot. It's from his 4 quartets. And then someone else that I've written a quote for, Narahara, says, I've always known that at last I would take this road, but yesterday I did not know that it would be today. So I like these thoughts, and I wanted to share them as far as your own thoughts and how you are going to set your own beginning to your day, what kind of intention you're going to have. The very next thing I did at that moment was think about what kind of person I wanted to be. I don't know why that one popped in my head in particular, but maybe I was listening to other people talk and I was thinking, are they really doing what they say they're doing? They say a good game, but are they really doing what they say they're going to do? How interesting that we find all these reasons and excuses not to follow through with what we said we wanted to do. So are we really wanting to do it? Are we really committed to doing it? And I thought, well, how do you figure that out for yourself? And I thought, well, why not set up a tiny experiment? So I have made myself a habit tracker, but it's not just a habit tracker by a daily thing. I am going to do it for 22 days, and I have written a form for it. I have 3 columns. The first column is, did I write out the plan that I was going to do for the day? And the second column is, did I follow the plan that I set out for the day? And then the third column, which is a very large, wide column, is for me to write the date and to write any observations or excuses or reasons or insights that I gained from whatever I did or didn't do. Now, at the end of the 22 days, I know it's a total of 22 days. How many of those days did I do the plan that I said I was going to make, that I actually made the plan? And then I will figure out what that percentage is of that many days of the 22 days. And then I'm going to ask myself, how many of the days did you actually follow through with your plan, like you said you were going to do? And how many of that fraction of the 22 days did you do? And then I will figure out my percentages. I think that's easier than just beating myself up about whether I did something every single day. So I'm going to look at those percentages at the end of the month and see if they are indeed indicating that I'm a person of my word, that I really am committed to doing something in particular, because you see the evidence of it. So that was my way of shutting myself up about making excuses for not following through. Or maybe I'm making excuses, and they could be good excuses, but gosh, I seem to be making a lot of them very often. Maybe that's the pattern that I need to be addressing. Maybe that means something else. Maybe I'm avoiding something, some kind of behavior. So that's my reflections from day 28. They were very interesting, life metaphors. They led me to a thought about how I was going to be a person that I wanted to be for today. And then it helped me create a little tiny experiment to make sure that I actually follow through, or at least gain the insights from my efforts to follow through, to learn where I might have some kind of log jam. All right, hope you have a good day.